kind of who you've been ordering iPros on, how often, and really the reasons for ordering an iPro evaluation. You know, one thing that stuck out to me, though, was the type of patients you're ordering iPros on.
Yeah, certainly, Nathan, as I told you, we like to do it on the type 1. They clearly have a lot of variability in their glucose, so we find that the iPro just gives us a good blueprint to kind of help them out.
Right, right. You know, look, I gave a lot of thought over the last couple of days, and it makes perfect sense. iPro works for type 1 diabetes. I guess one thing that I couldn't quite understand, though, is why you don't order iPros for type 2s.
That's a great question. I think type 2s clearly are in much better control overall than type 1s, and we just haven't seen the need to kind of use iPro for that type of patient.
Right, okay, okay. Now, you use ACE as a guideline for insulin pump therapy, correct?
Big ACE guy, love ACE.
Yeah, yeah. Now, are you aware of the ACE consensus statements for professional continuous glucose monitoring, iPro?
I didn't even know they had one.
Good, why don't I get a breakdown for you?
Let's do it.
So I'll leave this clinical summary for you so you can kind of go over it a little more in depth in your own time. But, you know, really, ACE defines iPro as an unbiased assessment of a patient's glucose control. In terms of patient selection, they recommend iPro for type 1 and type 2 diabetes for patients that are not at their target A1C, have recurrent hypoglycemia, hypoglycemic unawareness, and even pregnant patients. Were you aware of these?
Oh, no, I wasn't. That's fantastic.
But yeah, I mean, look, with all the clinical data out there that supports iPro, you know, ACE really broadly defines the types of patients that are appropriate for iPro. Now, you shared with me last week, it was 65% of your patients were not at their target A1C, right?
Exactly.
And those who were, you were concerned about hypoglycemia.
Yes.
Now that you're on with these ACE consensus statements, do you think the majority of your patients are appropriate for iPro?
I like the ACE consensus, Nathan, and as you know, this practice is just so busy. I'm concerned of a couple things. One is, how do we identify these patients, these 65%? And then also, how is my staff going to be able to manage that additional workload?
Sure, sure. You know what, your practice really reminds me of another practice I work with in Terre Haute, Indiana, Dr. Alam. Now, you know Dr. Alam, right?
Yeah, we went to medical school together. Fantastic guy.
Yeah, he's a great endo. You know, Dr. Alam uses the ACE consensus statements in his practice, and what we've done is we built a protocol around the ACE consensus statements to really drive patient reimbursement and outcomes for those patients. So what we've done with that protocol is the night before the patient's seen, the office staff, they flag that chart. That way when Dr. Alam sees that chart, he's reminded, that's right, I need to order an iPro evaluation. Part of that protocol, what we do is when the patient's there for hookup, we actually check the patient's insurance for insulin pump therapy. That way, when we get the iPro back, we're better able to make a clinical decision based off that iPro. What that does for the patient, it really streamlines things. It makes things a lot easier for them to transition to a pump. Then what it does for your office is it really just makes things a lot easier, makes you a lot more efficient. You think that protocol would work for your office?
That's probably great for Alam, Nathan. I just don't know that we'd be able to replicate that kind of process here.
Well, I mean, specifically, what about it would be the most challenging part?
I think it's just remembering to flag the charts for these patients who want to actually have them and can see that it's in there.
Yeah, look, it's like anything new. You do it a couple times and it becomes second nature. But that's really what this partnership is about. I want to partner with you to make sure your office knows exactly what to do and how to do it. Sound good?
You're going to be able to help them out? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll come in next Tuesday and I'll sit down with your office manager and your MAs to make sure that everyone knows what their role is. And we'll really roll this out. We'll partner together to make sure that you're able to utilize iPro in your office for reimbursement and patient outcomes. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan. If you're willing to go through the steps, so am I.
Hey, absolutely. Let's do it.
Thanks.
All right.
Appreciate it, Nathan.
Absolutely.